Welcome. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to have successful job interviews on Zoom. Stay tuned. So some of these tips might be kind of obvious and some of them might be pretty interesting. So let's start off with the first one. And the first one I wanted to talk about was, you're going to be on camera. People are going to be seeing you. So it's pretty important that I think you should have a smile. You should kind of smile quite a bit. And also you should look in the background and make sure while you're on video to make sure there's nothing weird in the background. You want to just make sure that the composition is pretty good because you are going to be on video. You also want to make sure that you have really good lighting and the light, your scene is pretty lit well so that your viewer is able to see you quite nicely. And you want to make sure that you are dressed pretty good, especially your shirt and things are at the top in the video. The guys, you want to make sure you're groomed and nicely shaved and have your hair combed and things like that. The next tip that I wanted to mention is having at least 5 suggestions of what you would change with this company or product that you're interviewing for. And you want to have this list kind of in advance. Let's say it's a job for as a web designer, or let's say a product designer, something like something for mobile, let's say. So you might want to look at the app, see what kind of things you might improve or what might need some improvement. And you might talk about those things to the person that you're interviewing. Mention that, hey, I really like the navigation, but sometimes I could see it being confusing. And I'm not sure if you guys did enough testing with that, but I could see it being confusing having it on the bottom left side instead of having it on the bottom right side or on the bottom top side, or something like that, and suggest why you think it might be better having it on the top. And also make sure to mention that testing is really important and that you wouldn't just make that decision without testing. But really having at least 5 things that you would improve with the product and how you can contribute with that improvement. The next one I wanted to mention is really just having a very positive aspect about your personality and showing your passion. So what I mean by that is kind of just showing, the positive stuff of your personality in general outside of work. For example, with me, I'm pretty close with my grandma. So I like to mention sometimes it's not something I would randomly mention, but I would mention, yes, I visit my grandma and I talk to her and I listen to her life experiences and things like that and just go back and forth. And there's different challenges there that can happen sometimes, but showing that you can be patient in those challenges and things like that would be pretty good. Really just throwing in your random parts of your life into the interview or into the meeting and just showing, kind of your personality, what you're about, and really just making yourself seem very friendly. The next one that I wanted to mention is actually talking about your process, basically how you get things accomplished from point A to point B. So what you actually do, how did you get that there, why it was successful, and why you wanted to do it that way, pretty much explaining all the different things that you would do. So for example, for me, my process would be, let's say, something like creating an app design or something for an app. So my process might be, or just maybe a project within the app itself, maybe some kind of feature. But for the most part, my process would be kind of asking all the different questions, asking what needs to happen, as many questions as possible, then quickly do a sketch. I would do a quick sketch of what I'll be working on, like a napkin style sketch, then show that to who I'm talking to and make sure that kind of works, or it doesn't work, and kind of try to do a better job if it doesn't work. And then after that step, I would design a high fidelity design. Then I would work with developers and pass that on to them, potentially experiment with that design and see if I can have some user feedback or some user testing. And then when the product exists already, then I would see how users are using it and see if there's any way to improve that based on the real usage of people. So that's an example of how I would show my process, and maybe you can do something like that in your line of work as well. And lastly, I wanted to mention that you want to have 3 good questions about the company. So usually at the end of the interview and that's not necessarily for Zoom meetings, this is just for general interviews in general, but we're talking specifically about Zoom meetings. So you want to have 3 good questions that you would ask the person that's interviewing regarding the company. And have those questions kind of pre-planned in advance. Maybe look at their website and see maybe the location of the website or the location of the company, or potentially what kind of things you'd be working on exactly. what the process is, or if they use what kind of maybe tools that they use there, or things like that. Just kind of having good questions in advance. So you want to look as interested as possible in the company. You want to talk about their company as much as possible, and you want to do this kind of homework in advance. I know I said I would give you 5 tips, but I wanted to add an extra bonus 6th tip, like other famous YouTubers do. I'm not a famous YouTuber yet, but I notice that people do that sometimes. So the 6th tip would be, before you even have your interview, just make sure to turn on your Zoom and make sure your camera's working in advance. Make sure the lighting's good and all that stuff is good on camera before you even have the interview in advance. Really just really do the prep work in advance, because you don't want to, like, say you have the interview at 11:30 and now you're turning on the camera and there's like weird stuff, or the internet's not working or something like that. You just want to make sure that everything works, because the last thing you want to do is be late on an interview on video. So just a little bonus tip for you. All right. So that was pretty much my little video that I wanted to share with you regarding a few tips for your job interviews on video. I hope you got a little bit out of this, and I hope that you can use this for some of your potential work findings on video. And if you like this video, feel free to hit the like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed to me, feel free to subscribe to me. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to just comment below and we could have a little conversation and talk about it. And I will see you in my next video. Have a good one. Bye.